Hello and welcome to the Crochet Chain Mystery Shawl podcast, which is the last one that's the Mystery Shawl podcast, but I will be continuing to podcast. So thank you if you are a current subscriber. Welcome if you're a new subscriber. I know that I've got a few since last time because I did the giveaway so that I could get to 200 YouTube subscribers, which I did. And yeah, hey, I'm at 213 as of today. Now, today is really hot. I would love to be out in the garden doing this, but I don't like the heat. And I'm getting very warm underneath this shawl, so I might be kind of taking it off in a second. But we'll see how we go. Now, I have a list. Because I have some things. I think this might be a slightly shorter podcast than you're used to with me, but I think we need to keep it a little bit shorter. So, new yarn. Last time I mentioned that I had some yarn from the Bakery Bears. So the Bakery Bears, now they have very limited stock of each of the things that they dye, and I was fortunate enough, well, I was there when it came up on the listing and I kind of clicked and got it into my basket really quickly. And so I'm going to show you the Greatest Showman mini skein set. It's on the Hardwick base, which is 75% merino, 20% nylon and 5% stellina, and it's 5 20-gram minis, so we've got 400 meters in total. It came in a lovely pink bag with my address on it, and it came wrapped up like this. So it came wrapped up all beautifully presented with a little gold heart. That's so cute, little gold heart sticker on there. And when I opened up, oh well, let's show you. So when we open it up, and here it is. And so this is the Greatest Showman. So here we go. It's the Bakery Bears, and it's called the Greatest Showman. And you probably know by now that I have a little thing about rainbows and spectrums and things like that. And these are just so pretty that I just couldn't resist. Now let me get that into the spectrum-y sort of order. So there. Okay, so in fact I'll take I haven't done this yet. You're privileged. I'm taking the sleeve off so that you can see them in all their glory. And I do just think they are so pretty. Look at that gorgeousness. Oh, so the first skein has yellows and oranges in it. It's just really pretty. It's really mixed colours, so I think this is going to work really well with crochet once I decide what on earth I'm going to do with it. Then the next skein is red, and it's got different tones of red. The camera's not picking that up so well. You can see the sparkles though, even though it's not in focus. It's in focus over there. Okay, let's see. Yay! No. Okay, it's not focusing. It doesn't want to focus. Come on, focus. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so we've got this beautiful red. It has little flecks of black in it, but I still think that's really interesting. Lots of different tones of red in there. Then we have a pinky purple. This looks a bit pinker on the camera. It's kind of a bit more purple in real life. You can still see all that nice little sparkly stuff going on. Now, even if it's not in focus, you can still see the colours. So there's different tones of sort of goes from lavender through to quite a deep purple, and from a pale to quite a bright pink in there. So that's the pinky purpley one. Then we have, now this is an interesting one because it's kind of blue, but it has flashes of lots of other colours in there. So there's a little bit of green, there's a little bit of orange, there's a little bit of pink in there, and of course the stellina running through. So it's really, really pretty. Again, I think that's just absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to have to think of a really nice project to do with just these, because I think they're amazingly beautiful. And then the last one is all different shades of green. Now, green is not usually a colour that I like, but this is just reminds me of, I don't know, spring flowers. So it's got lots of sort of yellowy greens through to a darker green. So maybe spring flowers in the forest or something like that. It just is so pretty, pretty, pretty. And there's little flecks of yellow in there as well. And there is a little bit, I think, of pinky colour in there too. So just a gorgeous selection. When I saw the Instagram post, I had to have them. I think they were just so beautiful. So that's the Bakery Bears, and they have some excellent yarns, but they are all limited. Well, that's my only yarn purchase this month, except it was last month. I haven't been on a yarn diet, but I just haven't bought any yarn. But I did kind of overdo it at Edinburgh, didn't I? So I think I've got plenty to be going on. But the next time that I'm going out in the world is I'm going to go to Fibre East. Now, Fibre East is a lovely yarn show. It's in a school, but they use the grounds as well as the school. So you have a couple of halls in the school, 2 or 3 halls in the school that they use, and they have loads of exhibitors in there. And then they also have marquees, and I think they have 2 marquees with vendors in them, and then 1 marquee that is used for refreshments. And then they also have sheep shearing, which is great fun. If you've never watched live sheep shearing, it really is interesting to watch. And they talk about the wool and the type of wool that you've got. And you have the opportunity to purchase a fleece as well if you're into the spinning thing. I know I could very easily get into the spinning thing, but I have to focus for my business on crochet. So you won't find any spinning around here for the moment. But that's Fibre East is on the 28th and 29th of July, so not long now. I'm going to be there on the 28th, the Saturday, and it's open from 10 till 5, and it's open from 10 till 4:30 on the Sunday as well. And it's £8 per day to go and see all the young, unctuous, beautiful things that will be on display there. I'm really looking forward to it because it means that I catch up with some of the people that I know really well from the yarn world, and it would be lovely to say hello to some of you. So if anybody is going to Fibre East, drop us a little note in the comments down below, and we'll see if we can't meet up or something. I'm going on the Saturday, and I will be there with my friend Kate, who organises the Waltham Abbey Wool Show with me. On which note, we've got some really exciting prospects for the workshops for Waltham Abbey Wool Show. Plus, we have sent out our first invitations for vendors, and we're waiting for some people to reply. But that's also nice and exciting. But Fibre East we like to go to because then we can catch up with some of the exhibitors that come to us, and yeah, we have a bit of a laugh and a bit of a giggle as well. Anyway, moving on, tips and techniques. So this month in tips and techniques, I'm going to show you how to weave in the ends when you're starting a row. So if you've changed colour and you're starting a row, how to weave that first end in. Hello and welcome to my tips and techniques section. Today I'm going to show you how you would change colour using a standing stitch and then weaving the end in as you go, so that, for instance, if you're making a granny square, you will only have one end to sew in from each colour instead of 2, and anything that reduces sewing in we like. So we're going to start with the slip knot. I'm going to make the slip knot here with the tail in the palm of my hand. I'm going to wrap around my fingers and across, and then push that yarn through so that the loop here and my tail, so the tail
is here off of the knot, and this loop means that we can slip, the working end will slip and tighten the knot. Okay, I'm going to pop that onto our hook, and we're going to make it tight but not too tight. We want it to be able to move up and down, but we want it reasonably snug. Okay, so then we're going to yarn over, and then we're going to hold that yarn over onto the hook with our finger, because if we don't, as soon as we go and do anything with it, it's going to do that and unravel. So we're going to do a yarn over and hold it in place, and then we're going to work into the end of our row of stitches here. We're going to insert our hook under 2 strands as per usual, yarn over and pull it through, snug it up. You still need to keep a bit of a hold on, yarn over and pull through 2 strands, and then yarn over and pull through there and the slip knot that was on the hook. So now you've got your standing treble, which is a really nice way to start around if you're doing granny square, or a row if you're doing rows of trebles and so forth, and changing colour, because the stitch looks the same as the stitch below. We don't get any chains, any gapping or anything else, because the stitch looks like a standard stitch. To continue and to make sure that we can sew in this end, well, weave in this end, what we're going to do is we're going to just catch this tail, bring it forward before we do the next part of the stitch, the next stitch along. We do a normal treble, yarn over, in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over through 2, but then before we do our next yarn over, we're going to move the tail behind the hook, so it's in between there, so just from the front to the back, oh, like so, and then we finish off our stitch, and then we bring the yarn forward, do our next stitch, in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over through 2, and then take the yarn back, and then yarn over, pull through, and bring the yarn forward. And what this does is it will weave the yarn in as you go, so that you don't have any end at this end to sew in. Now if you happen to be doing a chain, you can do that as well, so you can just bring it forward, make a chain, take it back, do the next stitch. I'm going to skip one so that you can see how it works, and then we're going to do another treble, yarns behind, so we'll bring it in front. It doesn't really matter if it's in front and you take it behind, or if it's behind and you take it in front. The idea is just to make sure that you weave it in all the way to the end. So now we've got to a point where it's really, really short, and so we just finish off the rest of our row. So just finish off here, and then I will show you what's happened where I've been weaving the end in. That's just the end of the row. And so what's happened now, you'll see that that first one's been scrunched up a little bit. So all we do is we just take hold of it by the knot there, which was the knot of the slip knot, and just tug it a little bit so that it evens out again. So you can see that at the top it just looks like a standard stitch, and indeed if you didn't know what you were looking for, that would look fairly standard. But what has happened is that this little stitch here, this little thread here, has been worked. You can see as I pull it, it tightens. So if we do that, we can loosen it up, and we just have that end. It's all tucked away neatly, we can't see it, and we haven't needed to sew it in. So I think that's one of my favourite top tips to do, because it's just such an easy fix to sewing in all those ends. I hope you enjoy using this, and I will see you next time. If you have any questions, don't forget to put them down in the YouTube comments or contact me on Ravelry, and I'll try and help you out. Next month I'm probably going to do a little bit about blocking. I know, but you do have to do it. It really improves things no end. So don't worry about that though. That's next month. Not this month, that's next month. I'm going to talk about that in tips and techniques. If you have any requests or any questions, don't forget to just drop me a line. You can either email me, diana@thecrochetchain.co.uk, or you could message me on Ravelry or message me on Facebook. I don't know, there's so many places now that you can message people. It gets a bit confusing sometimes. So if there's a little delay before I get to you, that's probably because you've used something that I haven't looked at for a couple of days. One purchase that I have made this month is a new book by one of my favourite crochet designers. Now this book is called, don't laugh, I know I do a lot of teaching and things, but this book is called The Complete Crochet Course, and it's by Shannon and Jason Bowlesby. Now I love these guys. You can find them on social media as the Shibba Guys with a Z, and they have Shibba something dogs. Anyway, Shibba Guys. Okay, or I guess you can probably Google Shannon Bowlesby. This is the Complete Crochet Course. Now, why am I getting Complete Crochet Course when I'm really experienced crocheter? Well, you're never too experienced to learn something new. And I have really enjoyed reading some of Shannon's other books. So we have, I'm trying to do this in the right order. So I got this one, which is Crochet Geometry, which is just brilliant and has some really interesting shapes that he uses for patterns, and some really interesting things that I really like. So things like this beautiful cabled cardigan, and just put a little thing on the back there. He designs for all sizes, which is always a bonus when you're a little bit more well endowed. But he bases these designs are based on geometry. That's another beautiful cardigan there. Okay, so that is his book Crochet Geometry, which I really like. And then he brought out this one called Designer Crochet, which I liked even more, if it was possible to like something even more. He's mostly used lightweight yarns in order to get some lovely drape. I've just noticed something cheeky. So you get some absolutely gorgeous designs in here. So that's Designer Crochet by Shannon Bowlesby, and it says sizes small to 5 extra large. He really does design with everybody in mind. So he talks a lot about designing using crochet as a fabric, and that's kind of my ethos too. And I don't know if I picked it up from him or whether that's what I thought about. I think I kind of was thinking that way anyway, and I think the fact that he does it as well kind of reiterates. It's nice to find people that think the same way as you do. Anyway, so his Complete Crochet Course is brilliant. So it's not just about learning to crochet. If you've never crocheted before, he takes you through everything, through holding the yarn, holding the hook, all of that sort of thing. But there are also some other interesting features that I thought you would like to know about if you were going to do this. So there's some really interesting notes and things. But one of the first things that he says is here, look, making fabric.
we're making a fabric when we crochet. And who would want a stiff, well, you might need a stiff fabric for something stiff, but using the appropriate hook and yarn to make the fabric that you want is really, really important. And he goes through all of this, goes through all the tools and things like that. Now I've marked a couple of pages up where there's some very interesting things. Now he does do things very technically, so he does think about things like inserting a hook under only back loops and under only front loops. So, well, you think, oh, does it matter too much? Because, you know, through the front loop, through the back loop, if you create a fabric and you're always going through either the front loop or the back loop, surely it's the same. Well, no, it's not. If you go through the back loop every time, the fabric will become denser and shorter. And if you go through the front loop, it becomes looser and lighter. And so he goes through the whole thing here. He just explains all the way through here. He's explaining why the fabrics are different depending on whether you do all front loops or all back loops. Who knew? But he goes into some really good, interesting detail. Very, very technical. Now, first stitches in a row. I did a little tips and techniques last time about how to start your row to make your edges straight, and so going into the second stitch and so forth. Well, he does something different, and he does things called stacked first stitches, which makes that first edge even neater. Now, these are not beginner techniques, but there's no reason why you can't start them even when you've not been crocheting for long. And it's certainly worth thinking about those edges of your fabric. I think that it's just really interesting to read through. So here he's showing us some different stacked stitches. I'm not going to show you too much detail. And then he also goes on to linked first stitches, and does all the different heights and with photos to show you. And then wrapped first stitches. So there's different types of wrapped first stitches and goes into great detail with those. And then he also talks about foundation stitches and so on. So there's a lot of in-depth technical detail, and that's what I love. I love the fact that he does this in-depth technical detail. Far more detail than I would do, but it's interesting to see. And you sometimes pick up things and you think, do you know what, I really need a really straight edge for this. Let me have a look at this book. Let's see if I can find out a way to do it. And so that's why I would use this as a reference book as well. So he's also got a whole section on finishing. Okay, and as you can see there, not just blocking, special techniques before you sew, seams and joins, buttonholes and zips. He says zippers because he's American. But you can see there is a whole load of things that he's going to be talking about, with blocking and sewing up, and he goes into so much detail. It just is brilliant. I thoroughly recommend this book. If you are interested in improving your crochet, then this book is a really good one to get hold of. And another little thing he's got some patterns in the back. And this one is My First Cardi, and I just do think it's a lovely cardigan. There we go. Okay, so it's a lovely cardigan there, and that is done in, I'm just seeing, it's done in worsted, which is an Aran weight yarn, so it would be relatively quick to make up. Do have a look. If you can get hold of it in the library or something like that, then it's worth having a look. But I have to say that I think this one, I think Shannon has outdone himself with this one. And I think it's great as a reference point for people, particularly if you really like to get into the nitty-gritty of the stitches. He does that a lot, and I just think it's absolutely brilliant. So Shannon, thank you very much for bringing this out, because it is fabulous. Oh, and Jason for the photography, of course. Okay. The final shawl, in my mystery shawl crochet along. So this one is probably the first one that I thought about making, but then as I was doing these shawls and thinking about the shawls, it became the last one because it was going to be quite a mega shawl to do. Now I'm going to just speak briefly about Stephen West. I know it's all books this week, isn't it? This month, this week, this month, this week, this month, this month. It's here we go. West Knits, Best Knits. I met Stephen at Yarnporium about 2 years ago. I think this book had just been released, and it's 2016. And I met him. There he is. That's his signature on there. And he's just lovely. He's lovely in real life. And he's just very quietly spoken. I think I might have talked about him before. Anyway, this shawl here that I have around my neck now, where I'm roasting, by the way, because I don't know how hot it is outside, but it's really warm in here at the moment. You don't really want to know about the weather. I know. Anyway, so this is the doodler, and you can see from here, this is the doodler here. And so this was my inspiration for this shawl. So you will see some things that look similar, but obviously it's not going to be the same because, there's a nice big picture, it's not going to be exactly the same because it's crochet, apart from anything else. And I have gone a bit wild with colour. Well, I do love colour and I like rainbows, and so I've gone with the rainbow thing. And so Stephen West, I love him. And this is my tribute to Stephen West. So this is the Marazion Shawl. Now, I will put some pictures up. From the shape where it is similar, so we have these segments, if you like, that are separated with eyelet holes. Well, they're more than eyelet holes, aren't they? Because I mean, look, I can see through those quite easily. So it starts with quite small holes at this end and smaller sections, and it is an asymmetric shawl. It's difficult for me to show you the whole thing, so we'll put some pictures in. So it's an asymmetric shawl. You can see that that section is a lot longer than the yellow section here. Okay, so it's kind of goes round. I'm just trying to show you, and it gets kind of longer and bigger there, that way. Okay, it has a fabulous wavy border, though I say so myself. I'm really pleased with how this border has come out. This is like a ripple. It's called Feather and Fan, and I have, of course, adapted it to suit myself, but I really like the way that the yarns interact on this section. And then to finish it off, we have what I've called a flared border, which starts up here. Now I've slightly changed the beginning of these rows, so in yours it will lie a bit flatter across there like that. Then we have a tweed stitch section, and then we have the little kick flare at the end. So whilst it's a similar shape to the doodler, in essence it's completely different because the colours are completely different, the techniques are completely different, the borders are different, but you know, you have to have, you know, you get inspiration from all sorts of places. Now, yarn. So I am really excited that this yarn is a collaboration with Ange from Gamer Crafting. I'll put a link down there. She has dyed this specifically for this shawl. So we have 7 different colours. So we've got the yellow, the orange, the pink, the purple, the mauve, the blue and the green. So there's 7. Now it was a double mini skein set. So there was 40 grams of each colour. It's merino and nylon sock weight. But the magic happens with the border colour. So each of the borders in here, it's navy, and then it's got little specks of each of the colours in the main shawl. Now this was dyed, it's a very specific process, so I think Angie's only going to be doing dyeing to order for this one, but it is absolutely beautiful yarn. The technique that she used is tricky, so it's probably going to be a little bit expensive. She'll let you know. I'll let you know as soon as I know how much the pack will cost. But you do get a rather gorgeous, spectacular shawl with all the rainbows. And it's Pride Week. It's Pride Week. Who knew that rainbows would be so appropriate on Pride Week? Okay, so we've got rainbows edges there. We've got, now the main panels here are made in tweed stitch. Tweed stitch, or linen stitch some people call it, is one, so each row you do 1 double crochet, 1 chain, 1 double crochet, 1 chain, 1 double crochet, 1 chain. So you get into a little bit of a rhythm with it. And then when you turn and go back along the row, you put your double crochets into the chain space of the last row, and then a chain and double crochet and chain and double crochet and chain, but you're going into the chain space. So it creates quite a dense fabric, although once it's blocked, it's really stretchy. What I really am liking about this stitch and how it's come out, because all of these sections are on the bias, it really drapes beautifully. And I'm not just saying that, I think it just does drape really beautifully because you've got this sort of bias thing going on. Okay, so when you see, again, when you see the pictures in the pattern, you'll be able to see that this bias that's happening, just, yeah, you kind of see it there a little. It just really is lovely. It's just, it sounds like I'm really like just selling, but I'm just so pleased with this one, how this has come out, because it has come out better than I imagined it might do. I just love the way that the tweed stitch, you can see the tweed stitch here, the tweed stitch gives the shawl, I'm going to come a bit closer, oops, sitting back too far. So if I show you the tweed stitch here, you might be able to see it. So, oh, focus, yay, there you go. So you can see that the double crochets go into the space between the double crochet of the previous row. So you can see it quite clearly on there. Okay, now it's just the way that this stretches and is on the bias just makes the shawl really nice to wear. So as I was making it, I thought it might be a bit dense. Actually, once I blocked it, it's just relaxed beautifully and it's just come out so nicely. Now, when you do create your own one of these, when you do the border, this looks like it's really fancy and I've done increases and things. I haven't. So when I blocked this, it's pulled out those little segments a little bit so that it looks a bit more like wavy on the end. You can see it really clearly here. Excuse me. Okay, so it's got those sort of little waves on it, but that comes out when you block it, so it looks a little bit bumpy when you start, but trust me, when it's blocked and it's relaxed into its shape, then it will look like this, perfect and flat. The borders here, the feather and fan border, is done with the border colour and then each of the colours in turn. Now I've done mine in a rainbow, but you could mix up your colours. You might have some speckles that you want to use, then please do. I think this one is going to be really interesting to see people's colour choices. Now I am doing as you know, I've usually done 2 colours of each shawl. Now this one has taken a lot longer than I expected, and it does take longer to make, so that's another reason why it would be the last shawl. It's an intermediate. There's about 18 pages of pattern, but that's because I like to explain it so that you can get it right, and so that you can, you know, you've got my help all along the way. I have got another colourway, and when that shawl is done, I will do a podcast. Well, my next podcast, I will show you the 2 colour version. So the 2 colour version is Rosie's Moments yarn, and it's a lovely motley green and a lovely purple, and Jess at the moment is beavering away, crocheting it up for me. But it's done in 2 colours, and it's 150 grams of each colour. Now, I haven't weighed it, but I've weighed what I've got left over. So I think that this shawl has used about 320 grams. So to be safe, I would say you need 350. And if you want to have choices, then maybe go for 400 grams of yarn, which seems like a lot. It is a lot. Okay, but it is a denser, slightly denser shawl. I think this is much more a wintry type shawl because it's quite snug, and it's quite dense. I am so rambling on. You don't want to hear all this wittering on, do you? So we've got shawl number 6, Marazion Shawl, and it's available today, which is the 5th of July, hopefully, if I get my finger out. So this is the final shawl, shawl number 6 in the Mystery Shawl Crochet Along. I will be publishing a book with all of the shawls in and some different photographs. And I'm going to publish that on the first Thursday in August, hopefully. If you've already subscribed, then you'll get it at a very special price. I haven't decided the price yet because I have to wait and see how much it is when I go to the printers, because I don't even know how many pages it's going to have. So I can't really calculate that at the moment. Also on the 2nd of August, I will be publishing each of the patterns as a single pattern. So each pattern will be released independently, but you will also get a package price for all of the shawls. If you're interested in getting the shawls at the discount price, then you will need to hurry up, because I will be taking it off this special introductory Mystery Shawl Crochet Along price, because obviously now it's not a mystery, you can see them all. So deep breath. I'm really tired, but I'm really happy that I have got all of these 6 shawls done, and I'm going to be working on my next set of patterns, so do keep an eye out. I'm going to do a crochet along in January, starting in January, but it's going to be garments, so I think it will be a little different to this last one, and I don't think I'm going to do it as a mystery one. And you will get a special deal on the garments on the package if you come in early, and then obviously you pay a little bit extra as we go along. But that's the plans for 2019. I've still got the rest of 2018 to go, and I've got ever so many plans for patterns. As a designer, so what happens is you start designing something, and then something else takes your eye, and you do something else, you do something else. Having the discipline of having a crochet along where I've had to have a pattern released every month has been brilliant for me. But I think what I want to do is go back to all the designs that I haven't actually done very much of, and go back and redo those so that I can publish those as well. So I'm going to be looking at my Constant Shawl, which is already published on Ravelry. I think, is it free or it's £1 or something? It's very reasonable at the moment, but that will change because I'm going to put photo tutorials, and it was the very first pattern that I released, and so it's very different in style to what I now do. So I'm going to kind of update it and put it into my style. But then I've got some really interesting toys to come along, and I've got some ideas for some baby blankets. So I'm looking at a daisy baby blanket, and what's the other one? Oh, a baby blanket that's based on my corner to corner pattern, which you can sort of see just over here. I'll explain about these next time. If you want to have a look on my Etsy shop, these 2 blankets come as kits, and I will explain that next time. And so I hope that those people that have subscribed are really enjoying doing the shawls. This isn't the end, because you can still catch up on Ravelry, and I can speak to you on Ravelry. And if you've got any problems or any questions, then please do ask, because I really want you to get hooked on crochet, and the only way you do that is by learning and by doing it. So I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for purchasing, and I'll see you soon.